by a show of hands, who all here owns a dog? Okay, and how many of you, whether you've owned a dog in the past or whether you do now, would voluntarily feed your dog chicken feet and sugar cookies that are preserved with a possible carcinogen? Okay, that's what I thought. That's what I'm here to talk to you about today, is that there are a lot of commercial dog foods that are very unhealthy for your pet that over the span of a lifetime can actually be very unhealthy for them and take years off of their life possibly. This is a subject that I've been interested in for years. I have always enjoyed learning about it and educating others about it as well. I try to keep up on it by books, internet, healthcare professionals as well. And whether you own a dog now or if you might in the future, that it's a good idea to know how to pick a healthy food for them to possibly prolong their life and benefit them. So the majority of commercial dog foods has three main unhealthy ingredients. They're going to be grains, meats, and chemicals. I'll start off by reading to you directly from the Kibbles and Bits dog food website their ingredient list for their original recipe dog food. And it reads: corn, soybean meal, beef and bone meal, ground wheat flour, animal fat, and corn syrup. If you'll notice, three of the first four ingredients there are a grain of some sort: corn, soy, and wheat. These are very difficult for your dog to digest. If you think about a dog in the wild, they're not grazing on grass. They're eating a carcass. It's meat. That's what they have to have. That's what their body is designed for. Another grain that you will usually see, and as I was doing my research I noticed on the Purina.com website is in a lot of their formulas, is brewer's rice. You think rice, oh, it's healthier, it's good for them, but actually no. Whenever they do that, it's usually only the residue that is left over whenever they have already processed the rice for human consumption. It's hulls and kernels, and it's a very low quality grain. They use these grains and stuff like this in the dog food because it's technically counted as a source of protein, and so they're able to use that to be able to meet the minimum standards for protein to make the dog FDA approved, but they're not having to use expensive meat or any kind of meat. Imagine if you were to live on like Doritos and hot dogs your whole life. You probably wouldn't be very healthy, would you? And just like hot dogs, a lot of pet foods are going to have a lot of unhealthy meat in them. Whenever you look at the bag of a dog food, you're usually going to see the term byproduct of some sort, like meat byproduct, poultry byproduct. All these byproducts can include and is not limited to things like roadkill, euthanized pets, diseased livestock, their hooves and feet and hair and bones, organs, all this stuff. Everything that's not deemed okay for humans is shipped off for animal feed, including our pets' food. The FDA policy, directly from their website, states, pet food consisting of material from diseased animals or animals which have died otherwise than by slaughter will be considered fit for animal consumption. So in other words, it doesn't matter where they get it from or how the animal died, it's okay for your pet. Another term that you're going to see about meats is meals, like poultry meal, byproduct meal, and stuff like that. This is a powder form of the meal that is left over after they have rendered the carcasses of the fat and water. It is processed and cooked at a very high temperature, so any of the enzymes and vitamins that might have been there before are usually gone during this process, and it's a very low quality meat by the end of it. So in addition to the grains and the meats, there's also some very unhealthy chemicals that you need to be aware of. Dr. Richard Pitcairn is a veterinary. He has a PhD in veterinary, and in his 2005 book, Natural Health for Dogs and Cats, he talks about how BHA, BHT, and ethoxyquin are all possible carcinogens that are used as preservatives. And as we saw, the Kibbles and Bits had that. He also talks about how there are artificial colorings and flavors in the food that don't actually have to be approved by the FDA before they're put on. So they're able to add these on a whim, and they're not even tested sometimes. As I conclude my presentation, I'd like to summarize again for you things that you need to watch out for in a dog food. You need to make sure that there are no unhealthy grains, only wholesome forms of protein, and no harsh chemicals. And I'd like to encourage you guys that whenever you feed your dogs now or in the future, try new things with them. Put a couple of carrots down instead of treats, or mix some green beans in with their food, something like that, and see what your dog likes, and try and, just because we call it people food and we don't usually give it to them doesn't mean it's not good for them.